Okay, after being convicted in 1990 for murdering his parents, Martin Tankleff has been set free. Now, why? Well, the Supreme Court, for one, had real concerns about the confession. Was it coerced? Was it coerced? Was it truly a confession? Well, here for a fair and balanced discussion are two former prosecutors, John Richardson and Gwen Lindsay Jackson. Welcome to you both. And it seems like there are two types of confessions that we're concerned about. I think everybody gets frustrated when a confession is thrown out on a technicality. But Gwen Lindsay Jackson, what about a confession where someone confesses to a crime when they actually did not commit the crime, where law enforcement tricks them into thinking they did? That happens.
Yeah, that does happen, but it doesn't happen all that much. However, when it does happen, and it's very egregious, like in this case, that's when you have all of these problems. Now, normally when you have a confession, what the investigators need to do is they need to make sure that, number one, that the party is Mirandized, that they are told that they have a right to an attorney, and that all their constitutional protections are put in place. And they have to make sure that there is enough evidence that is tying the case to the confession before going forward with it.
John Richardson, okay, maybe it doesn't happen that much, but law enforcement, investigators often encouraged to be creative, to get the information that they need. In this case with Martin Tankleff, apparently one of them told Martin when he was in custody, hey, we just talked to your father. He came to out of a coma. He says you did it. And he was apparently suggestible. He was only 17. He said, well, maybe I did do it. Have you seen that?
That's right. There was suggestibility. Justice is blind, so you'd better be careful what you tell the jury. I mean, imagine you're Marty Tankleff. You're a 17-year-old kid. You come down for your first day of high school. You discover your dead mother and your father bleeding to death, only to be whisked off to the police station where you're locked up for hours and hours and hours, and you're lied to. You're told that your hair is in the grasp of your dead mother's hands, that your father wakes out of this coma and names you the killer. And somehow and somewhere along the line, it's suggested that maybe you blacked out. And you confess, and then later in trial, there's not one single piece of physical evidence that ties you to that conviction. And then you spend 20 years in prison before the Supreme Court recognizes that they got the wrong guy. Look, confessions are very powerful evidence. I would disagree that it doesn't happen that much. Since '88, in the advent of DNA evidence, there have been 188 known people that have been exonerated, that were innocent and set free from jail. 27% of those people, those were cases that dealt with false confessions. I think the way our system is antiquated, and I think there has to be significant independent proof before a confession comes in.
Gwen,
the law has to change.
Gotcha. Gwen, it's still okay, though, for law enforcement to be creative, to Mirandize the suspect and say things like, look, if you tell us everything we know, I'll talk to the judge, I'll see what I can do. And that tends to get defendants talking.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, you as an investigator or as a police officer, you want to make sure that you get to the bottom of whether or not, the person did commit the crime. And when I said that it doesn't happen all that much, I just want to point out that this is an aberration. Most law enforcement, they do the right thing. They, when you say 188 cases, I mean, how many out of thousands and thousands? This does not happen as much as, it is an aberration. I wanted to point that out. It's not the rule. So, as I said before, good law enforcement will make sure that, confessions are garnered properly and that all of the process is followed appropriately.
Okay, well, John Richardson has doubts that happens as much as it should, right?
I couldn't disagree more. Here in South Florida, there's been a special prosecutor assigned to investigate false confessions where detectives went into the jail and actually signed their name as if they were in the jail talking to people and just made up the confessions. This is something that happens every day. Police tactics where they come in and they play good cop, bad cop. They lie to you. They don't put you on video. You spend hours upon hours upon hours upon hours.
Gotcha.
They deprive you of sleep.
John?
They deprive you. Yes.
Yeah, I know. We've all seen those nightmare scenarios, but something we don't see happen every day. Martin Tankleff set free after 17 years in jail. John Richardson, Gwen Lindsay Jackson, both former prosecutors. Thank you both.
Thank you.